Ever wonder how to design a character from scratch? Here's how I designed this Final Fantasy XIV inspired dancer character. So when my client reached out, the brief was clear, but it was a little bit challenging because she wanted to have an original character that was inspired by the dancer class in Final Fantasy XIV. However, whenever I do character designs, I have in my head that it's not in a set style, right? It's in my own style. So it was very instrumenting to try to pull from a video game for an original character that she wanted to represent her. They wanted someone that was elegant, fluid, and deadly, a performer type of fighter, someone who could steal the spotlight and still win the fight. To me, it was really important to start with dynamic poses and really get that feeling of a dancer. Because speaking with the client, I realized that she wanted more something that was illustrative that she could use through her Twitch, to show on the screen, to get into her assets, more than if it was, for example, somebody that wanted to have an original character for a Dungeons and Dragons campaign that she would use as a character sheet to get more commissions from other artists and stuff like that. So it was really leaning more towards illustration than character design. However, we needed to create the design around this character to be able to do the illustration since she didn't have any kind of base to go with. However, we really needed to create the character still for this illustration. So I started personally with the dynamic pose. I wasn't just thinking about like, okay, what is the outfit? I was thinking about like the motion. What is the character going to be exuding? What would the character look like mid-spin, mid-attack? You know, it was very, to me, the word that kept going through my head was flow. The pose needed to be dynamic. So I didn't need to do something that was rigid or too armored. She needed to have that freedom. They attacked in a way that is very light and very feminine and very strong in power, because there's power in femininity. So that's really what we pulled. And I sent a mood board to the client and showed her like the different artistic visions that we could go towards, and she made her decision. So we really leaned forward and in between of Mid-Eastern dancer and what the traditional dancers are, and she decided to go with the first option, which really surprised me because to me I felt like the second option was maybe showing more. But when the client comes, and this is why it's really important to have communication with your clients, because you'll never know, your idea might not be their vision, and when you're doing work for somebody else, you also have to pay respect to their vision into your own work. So what she explained to me is that she preferred the first one because she liked how the face was more visual. It was more sharing a story, to which I felt at that moment that was the really like most important part about this illustration, was really like the face and the elegance around it. So that's why later on I put on more work into how I rendered it. I rendered this drawing in a way that's very much more almost watery, like I would say. It's a new type of, I tried a new type of coloring technique that I don't usually do, and as you can see right now, I must be like redefining the weapons and everything, because the first two sketches that I always send out are never like definitive. It's always to get a mood. It's always to get a feeling of how does the client feel about that? Is that good enough? And funny enough, all of the changes that I've made to the drawings were not requested by the commissioner. All of the changes that I made was parts that made me uncomfortable about the design, that I felt was weak and still needed to be worked on. And I shared that with her. I said, listen, here's an updated version of the sketch you approved. I just felt like this would be better because, and I laid the answers, and I said, what do you think about that? Because as I was explaining earlier, when you do commission work, you're not doing the work for yourself, you're doing it for somebody. So you just want to make sure that, you're hitting out of the park for them, and that you feel also proud in the work. There's nothing worse than doing, a work that you don't feel attuned to, that you don't feel inspired into doing. So if something is bothering you, there's a reason for it. And because it's bothering you, it most probably will be bothering other people. So I went back and I think I redid the weapon design. I didn't like it. I added more details around like the outfit so that really like shown better what I wanted it to do. And then I kept thinking, okay, so now that I have all of my bases, how do I render her in a way that, you know, she commands the space and not just pushing the pose and exaggerating the shapes, but it's also like a focus on the softness and the strength. So I tried a new, like I was saying earlier, a new rendering style, which honestly, I don't know why I've never thought about it. I colored my shadows and just simply lowered the opacity of it. I've been such a sucker for the past 10 years that I've been drawing on doing multiply layers. Don't ask me why. If you're an artist, you know the struggle. That it never came to my mind that I could just lower the opacity of my layers without it necessarily being on a multiply layer. And somehow this works really well on this drawing, and I'm gonna keep practicing it. I think when we're doing commission work or when we're doing personal work, when we're doing any type of work really, we always need to find like something that could be improved, because by the time that our brain sees the errors, sometimes we see the errors, we don't know how to fix them yet. And that's the beauty about like anything that is artistic, is that you can always improve yourself, and you have to do that kind of self-interrogation and try to always push your craft further than what it can be. And that's just the beauty of it. And this design started as a commission, but by the end it felt like a story, a character you could imagine leading a battle or stealing a stage. If you're into character commissions or just curious about the process, feel free to reach out to me or just hang out into the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you liked it.